He gives me the high sign. Good to go. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of the Montara Water and Sanitary District Board of Directors. It's January 16th, 2025. It's our first meeting in 2025. It's 7:34 p.m. And friends, could we have a roll call, please?
Yeah, Director Young,
Present.
Director Boyd,
Here.
Director Salke, here. And Director Dicker is today not in attendance. We expect Director Slater-Carter to be here shortly.
All right, thank you. I'd like to start with, for a president's statement, I want to share some sad news that Catherine's husband of many years passed away in December. And I want to read a tribute for Ed and then open this meeting in honor of Ed. And let me just read this. This is a tribute for Ed Carter. He passed away in mid-December. He loved the Midcoast and all the people he knew and worked with here. Ed was raised on a small poor dairy farm in rural Michigan. He dreamed of going to university and getting a broader understanding of the world. The draft intervened. He spent 4 years in the Navy doing Morse code in Asia. He spent time in Vietnam, Okinawa, and a small ship on the Pacific. He was discharged in Vallejo, went to Sac City Junior College, and then on to UC Davis. He earned a degree in agricultural economics. He put that to use with the ownership of several McDonald's restaurants in Daly City. Prior to owning the McDonald's, he came to the coastside working for a federal loan program for fishermen and farmers. He was very involved in helping them find the funds needed to maintain their businesses. Will and Casey, his first two children, were born in Montara, and he decided this was a perfect place to raise kids. His first two children, his two children. I don't know what I'm doing. So Will and Casey, his two children, were born in Montara, and he decided this was the perfect place to raise kids. He was a big supporter of Montara, Moss Beach, and MSD. That's the Montara Sanitary District. He strongly supported the purchase of the local investor-owned water district, making MSD into MWSD. He was active in helping by working on finance committees for the Harbor District. He participated actively in protecting the environmental protection of the coastside by supporting Catherine Slater-Carter in the work for the community on the tunnel, MWSD, the Midcoast Community Council, and other community efforts. Ed's sense of humor and love of the people and community of Montara and Moss Beach will be missed. And I want to go further and say, having worked closely with Catherine over many years, Ed's support has been unwavering and bountiful. It's not easy to have a spouse as involved as Catherine is, and Ed has did a lot to be supportive, and we're really going to miss him. So with that, let's get on with the business. So the first,
Can I say something?
yeah, we have our comments now, so this would be a perfect time.
Well, I did sell and having quite a few homes on the coast when I was active in real estate, and I really got to know Ed quite well. He had a great personality, and this is very sad, and I really feel bad. I know he supported Catherine, and she has spread herself quite wide in her many endeavors over the years. She was on the MCC, MWSD, LAFCO. Well, I guess she hasn't served on LAFCO, but she's an alternate, and the Harbor District. She's done a lot of things. So he's really been supportive. And I think she actually was one of the officers of Coastside Democrats too. So this is really sad.
It's when you see someone that involved, know that there are often people of the caliber and character and providing a whole lot of the support.
Well, I'm glad I got to know Ed like 6 months ago or something. He lives close by. And I'm glad I at least get to see Kathleen more. I cannot imagine losing a spouse for 53 years. A very big number.
Yeah.
And I did want to say also that my heart goes out to all the people in LA that are losing homes, and some people have lost their lives. And I know Catherine and Ed lost their house recently. So the fires, I mean, we do have to keep that in the top of our mind, because we are a water district and water is an issue in LA, and it could be an issue here. So
Yep.
anyway, that's,
Right.
we can go on about that later.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public comment or anything that's not on the agenda? Any members of the audience? Anne? You could unmute Anne.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. So, yes, I am very sorry about that news as well. I am very sorry to hear that. My comments were, I have some comments and questions, but like Sid, I am very concerned about fire preparedness for Moss Beach and Montara. We need a moratorium on new hookups, including Cypress Point, until you can prove that the hydrants will not run dry like Pacific Palisades. The entire water system relies on electric pumps, which most likely would not be operational during a major wildfire. The backup generator would only function a short time. There is no real evacuation plan that, that we could use, and it would probably just end up in chaos like what happened in LA. This was seen when we got an evacuation order for the tsunami, and in that situation, a police officer was injured. So adequate water supply and pressure for large-scale fire is needed to avoid mass loss of life. So my question is, have you coordinated with our fire company to test all the fire hydrants for adequate pressure for a large-scale event? I also want to know, are you planning for additional water storage? And finally, I ask, is there both a moral and legal obligation? Isn't there a moral and legal obligation to the homeowners who have funded the purchase of the water company to provide them with adequate water to protect their homes? I'm very concerned that you will be diverting water to take care of Cypress Point. God forbid an event like this happens, when the homeowners have paid for the system and their houses will be left to burn to the ground. So if you wanted to answer some of my questions, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Unless you want to.
Yeah, thank you, Anne. Appreciate the comments very much. I'm just going to say in general that I just recommend at this point supporting your local fire department and actually engage in a conversation with the fire department. I think there is just a lot of untruths out there, and I'm not going to get into interpreting, anything that I see online at this point. I think that's really kind of like the level of a football fan that is commenting on a game while it's happening. I think we have to see how things really evolve and develop. That said, I'm going to say there were also some assumptions and that I'm disagreeing with. For example, our system is gravity fed. So the water flows by gravity in case of an emergency. Yes, there is pumps needed to refill the tanks, but those pumps are on backup power, and that backup power system is capable of running for a long time. It's also not true that any additional connections are taking away from the fire supply. It's absolutely not the case. Our tanks are kept full. pretty much at all times, essentially. The demand is, we're capable of replacing the demand that is put on the system through domestic use. So
I'm
we
asking
have-
about fire. I'm not asking about domestic use. And that's what concerns me because that's down south. They said the same thing. Everything was fine. And when it came down to it, there was no water pressure and there was nothing for the firefighters to suppress the fire with. And you're saying that I have to go to the fire company. Well, this is something that falls on you as well as the fire company. You have to work in coordination with them. And it sounds like you're not. And this is what concerns me because I hear this over and over again from all different government entities where everybody seems to point a finger at somebody else and say it's their problem. But at the end of the day, it's going to be our problem when things catch on fire and we are not prepared properly. And I think that it's imperative to work with the fire company and know that what's happening with the hydrants. Do we have enough pressure? And then you say, well, our tanks are full. Is that enough for a large scale operation? I mean, you talk about normal water use. I'm not talking about normal water use. I'm talking about fire suppression.
And I need to point out that you interrupted Clemens in the middle of what I know had quite a bit more to be said. So let's let Clemens get through the rest of what he had.
Well, he's saying that I'm espousing misinformation, and I'm not going to tolerate that. I am not. Thank you.
And he's actually quite correct when he says that it's the fact that the system is gravity fed. That's something that we need to be clear about. So if there's something out there about the pumps are going to not be able to run, the fact of the matter is the system is gravity fed, and where we need pumps, they have backup power that can run for a long time. Setting the record straight on factual details like that is important. And I think you're coming to us with a request for some factual information. So it's not all going to fit necessarily with everything that we start with, but that's okay. We all walk out understanding a little bit more. And it is entirely true that there has to be conversation with the fire department, but it is not true that we don't do some coordination with the fire department. And I think Clemens was about to get to some of that. So let's let him finish.
So, and I'm going to repeat that what Scott just said. I would appreciate it not to be interrupted, please. So back again, that domestic demand is not taking away from the fire supply. So adding connections or using a small amount of water on a short-term basis, the systems are designed to replenish this and keep water for fire flow. However, no system, not the system in LA, not the system in Paradise, not the system in Santa Rosa, nor any system worldwide is designed to prevent or fight wildfires. Wildfires, we have a specific agency in California that is exclusively in charge for wildfire events, CAL FIRE. There's a clear separation and distinction between urban fires, 1, 2, 3, 4 house fires, and wildfires. No water system on this earth is currently designed to fight wildfires. Wildfires are fought mainly with air support and with other sources of water. I think we need to listen to the fire department and see what comes out of these fires. We have already experienced with the city of Paradise. What is happening in the city of Paradise is that, for example, a change to the building code is required. I think it's evident that that fire needs fuel. Of course, everybody can work on defensible space, but I think we have to reconsider building homes out of flammable materials. That's something that has been the experience in other parts of the world, that was not a good idea. And in other parts of the world, wooden structures with flammable insulation, for example, are not allowed. Of course, this is not something that can be changed immediately. This is a situation that works for the city of Paradise, that may work now for a reconstruction. But in general, urban water systems are not designed and not capable of fighting wildfires. It's a simple fact.
So, Clemens, let me ask, our system is designed for fighting urban house fires and structure fires, correct? And if I understand correctly, it's designed for more than one significant event at a time.
Absolutely.
So
We have plenty of storage. We added, we doubled our storage in the recent years. Simply adding storage to this system and using potable water to fight fires is going to come with tremendous difficulties. There's not enough capacity in the mains, for example. And simply enlarging the capacities is going to lead to water quality problems. Same is true for tanks. So there is, it's not as simple. And just again, I'm cautioning everybody on how you receive your information right now. There is so much wrong information out there. Please wait and talk to your firefighters and see what the results are, what really can be done to improve the danger that we are living in.
And I would go further that if there are recommendations that CAL FIRE has for Montara Water and Sanitary to help out, that's a conversation that we're quite open to. We do have an open line of communication with them. We are involved in things like fire hydrant flow testing and pressure testing and maintenance. And so there are interactions, there is planning, but when it comes to if they need some response on our side, we're looking to them as the fire experts and are open to those conversations. Sid, and then Bill.
Well, I was very involved with the fire board when we were doing the recall that we tried to keep CAL FIRE. And Catherine and Ed and I were all involved with that. And one of the things that it had to do with keeping CAL FIRE, but they are the State Division of Forestry, and we contract with them. So we have we contract with the best now. And but I do attend their meetings virtually, and they've had on their agendas for all of 2024 that they were going to work with Clemens on the status of the fire hydrant testing, but we don't have it on our agenda. So I would like to know for a future meeting, because it's not on our agenda tonight, what is the status of the fire hydrant testing at MWSD in Montara and Moss Beach? So if we could direct staff to put that on the agenda for next
I
time.
can answer that right now.
Okay.
What this is about is essentially an agreement between Montara and CAL FIRE
Right.
that essentially writes down and manifests what is actually current practice. So
You've been tested
all fire hydrants have been tested.
recently.
The time when you test the fire hydrant doesn't matter, because unless you move a tank, there's no change to the flows.
Okay.
You would have to make a physical change to the system to change that. So the timing of a flow test is irrelevant.
Okay.
All hydrants are tested, all hydrants are maintained. And yes, we can improve, and we're working with CAL FIRE on an agreement that exactly does that.
Okay, and then I did read somewhere, I think it was an LA Times article that said that some communities are developing water banks so that they can have extra water supply. And that's something maybe we could talk about down when we do our strategic plan and develop extra storage. If you think we need it as a community, I know that everybody's freaked out right now. So that's something that, it might be something for the future. And I think they have it in Kern and maybe Monterey. So if they think we need more for extra fire suppression, since there are some homes in the community that are in the wooded areas, I put hardy plank siding on my house, so I'm a little less concerned. I used to have T111 and it was starting to completely delaminate, and I'm sure it would have caught fire in the wind blown embers. So there's a lot of things the community can do to keep their properties from catching fire.
Okay, we're in public comment. I want to bring this to a close. I mean, it's a very interesting topic, and it's obviously a very interesting topic with a lot of interest and energy in it. Bill?
Yes. I'm very grateful for Ann's overarching comments because it's pretty much the kind of thing I've been worried about. I'm interested in long-term things. We are the only people who live here and care about fire danger in the long term. And the overlap of the tsunami warnings, when I was in this office when the tsunami warning came through, and the LA fires a couple of weeks later, and I went to grad school in LA. I went running in the mountains over North Pasadena and Altadena, so I don't even know what I'm going to see when I go back to those trails again. And I have friends down there. So we don't want that to happen here. But what has to happen twofold. First, the questions that you have to be so obvious that you can just come to a binder here and look at why we believe any given fire hydrant works or not. You said today that once you set it up, it stays good. I believe that. I can imagine people needing reassurance because not many things are like that. You said a few months ago that it costs something like half a tank of water to test one. And the water budget for testing a fire hydrant is obviously a huge question. We can't just run around emptying Coffin Valley Vista if that's what it costs. So that kind of thing needs to be down somewhere where everybody knows. The people who live here should not have to just be told to go talk to a fireman. We need to make it clear what's going on, what we're planning, what we can do, what we can't do, how much it costs. It sounds like it's part of the strategic plan. But overall, I like Ann's ideas. I'm on the same page. We need to do as much as we can to be ready for big bad things happening here. The rest of the world doesn't understand how many kinds of disasters we can have.
Okay. Do we have any other members of the public with comments? If not, let's go to the consent agenda. And let me just say, Ann, thank you so much for coming and sharing your thoughts and asking your questions. We do appreciate the involvement, and I hope there was some information shared. And I think we've got we definitely hear the concerns.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So on the consent agenda, any board member wish to pull anything for consideration? And if not, can I have a motion?
I move we adopt it.
I'll second.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. We can do this by voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. We have no old business. We have new business. Item 1, review and possible action concerning certification of the results of the November 5, 2024 general election. Do you have a point of order, or is this?
Item 2 and 1, they have my name spelled wrong, so I wanted to correct it before we go to those items. My middle name doesn't have an E. It's just
Okay. If you're
A-N.
talking about, well,
On new business.
I understand. If you're talking about the certification, this is a matter to take up with the registrar if they have something written wrong.
It's on our agenda wrong. I don't know if the registrar did it wrong because I'm the one that went down and signed up. So
Okay.
the oath of office seems to have it correct. So I don't know if it just got typed in wrong on the
Are
agenda.
you talking about on the resolution?
Right here, this is correct, but on our agenda, it was typed wrong. So I just wanted to bring it up that way.
Okay.
Actually, Director Young, I believe if you scroll down in your agenda packet, the county elections office also must have spelled it incorrectly. If you look at your certification of election, it does include the E.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened.
On here though. This
All right, so
folder has
Yeah.
it right.
let's,
Yes.
so
Okay, never mind.
Christine, we should be able to proceed, and if there's any typos, we can get those corrected as part of finalizing the records.
Absolutely. I'll make that change.
Okay,
Thanks.
so Clemens, do you want to introduce the item?
I'd love to. Thank you for the opportunity. So the Chief Elections Officer of San Mateo County has sent out the election certificates. This is usually something that we get in early December. This time it actually took a little longer. So here we are in January. Entire county is in this position. And so they are certifying that Catherine Slater Carter and Carla Sid Ann Young have been appointed to the Office of Director of the Montara Water and Sanitary District for a 4-year term. And Scott Boyd has been appointed to the Office of Director of the Montara Water and Sanitary District for a 2-year term. So the number of nominees did not exceed the number of offices required to be filled, and no request for an election was made. Therefore, the appointments from the county. Our recommendation now is to adopt the resolution declaring appointment of directors in lieu of district election on November 5, 2024.
Okay, so I just want to reiterate something you said, because even after all these years, I'm still, it's so weird to be appointed when we filed papers to run for election. So, you know, we intended to face an election, and it's, we really appreciate the opportunity to serve, and it's just a little odd that it winds up being called an appointment, but that is the proper thing to do when there's no contested election. So if you're hearing this appointment thing, just understand that means we stepped up to run. No one stood to run against us. So that's what happens. It's not like we're appointing our friends or anything. It's not like that. The word kind of gets overlooked. So it's, sorry, kind of long.
Meant we were elected by uncontested election. Oh, anyway.
Yeah, it's an interesting term of art that is, I think, a little confusing.
Thought I would have the campaign, and that would be an excuse for getting to know people. So I missed out on that.
I did too.
Well, you can still go.
Anyway, it was true one thing.
You didn't run this time though.
It wasn't my
You
year.
still get a
It wasn't
chance.
my year.
Yeah, you might have to run.
She gave 2 years, right? That was
Yeah.
it.
You can always practice. So you can always go stand at the post offices. Meet people.
I can have flyers and raise them around.
All right, so we have a recommendation. Let's see. I want to see, do we have any public comment before we move to board action on this? I don't see any hands. So the recommendation is to adopt the resolution next in order, a resolution declaring the appointment of directors in lieu of district election on November 5, 2024. Can I get a motion?
I move to adopt it.
I guess I have to second it.
Yeah, sure.
If you want that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and here's the weird part, we have to vote on our own. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Okay, and if there's, you can check the paperwork to make sure that the resolution is signed.
Are we supposed to sign this? If there's a spot for
We're not there yet.
I know, I just,
We're not there yet. So there is paperwork for the resolution. Staff will make sure that we've got the names exactly right.
it's okay on this one.
Okay, so we'll move on to, I have to scroll way down past all the certificates. All right. New business item 2, review and possible action concerning the administration of oath of office to the newly appointed board members.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. This is for me a reminder that this district operates under the rule of law. And therefore, we essentially ask to swear, or we are asking the board members to be sworn in. And we're swearing you guys in on the highest law, of the United States, the Constitution, and also the Constitution of California. So I'd like to administer the oath of office to our new board members. Catherine is not here right now, and I will do that with her personally, following up after that. So I can start with you, Scott.
Am I supposed to stand too? Or do I
You
just?
can repeat after me
All right.
and raise your hand. I, Scott Boyd,
I, Scott Boyd,
do solemnly swear or affirm
solemnly affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear the true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you, Scott. If you could sign the oath of office so we can file it, it would be great.
It's an honor.
All right, say, yes, we're ready, okay. Please repeat after me. I, Sid Young, do solemnly swear or affirm
I, Carlisle Sid Ann Young, do solemnly swear or affirm that I am a registered voter residing within the boundaries.
no, you just repeat after me.
You didn't use my whole name.
Okay,
Do you want to
that's,
backtrack or not?
as long as you have your full name stated, that's perfectly fine. That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation
that
or purpose of evasion.
I take this Now I screwed it up. That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
and then I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Right, thank you, Sid. If you can sign the document. Thank you.
Thank you. This is, thank you for, Clemens, for, your introduction to this topic. This is, it can be treated as a formality, but it's a strong reminder that civic duty is under the rule of law, and that it carries with it great responsibility and burdens to do the job well. And I'm grateful for the reminder. Let me just take the opportunity to make a pitch. If you or someone you know has given some thought to engaging and stepping into some kind of civic duty, this is a place where from time to time opportunities present to volunteer or perhaps even to step up to serve. And if those thoughts have crossed your mind, find any one of us or more than one of us and talk to us about that, learn some things about that. We have some materials online about what it's like to run for office, to serve in office. And we want to make opportunities as they arise for members of the community to step in and join in. And I'm sitting here flanked by two folks who are still pretty recent additions to the family here to help take care of the community's business. And over time, we'll have other faces at the table, and that might be you or a member of your family or someone you know, and want to encourage, if there's curiosity or some thought about maybe wanting to serve, go ahead and start asking questions about it now.
To that end, I think that it's incredibly important, not only that we spend our money the right way on the right things, but we actually have people from the community in this room deciding on it. And it's sputtering along. I remember during COVID, I think I was the only person who went through all four of the online meetings to explain where the board had an extra night a week just to explain how to do stuff, which was wonderful. Not just because I learned it, but because it shows how much you guys care. To that end, it would seem now that we don't have COVID anymore, maybe we could have some sort of every few months a community evening where we just tell people about the process in person. So instead of having to just look at online things by yourself, you actually get to show up with community members and learn that it can be fun. We don't need to decide that. That's just a general idea.
Same suggestion, and even if we should talk about that. That's not tonight, but we can talk about that. But if someone in the community is curious and you want to meet for coffee, I bet it wouldn't be that hard to get any of us to a face-to-face. Feel free to reach out.
There's also the opportunity when we're planning, I think, ahead for our strategic plan update to involve our community too.
Yep.
I'd like to see that be more vivacious.
Well, what I remember from the one a few years ago, that was quite vivacious.
Yes, it was.
Okay, let's go now. Thank you all. Let's move on now to review and possible action concerning auxiliary connection for Pillar Ridge community.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. So I'm happy to introduce this actually as an item that is designed to improve fire flow. That's really the main reason for this. This is specific to the Pillar Ridge community. Pillar Ridge community has currently only one connection, and we believe that it is prudent. We have now an opportunity to actually add a second connection to the system. And there is essentially two reasons. Really, we need to be able to service or prepare for an outage of the single connection. Of course, there is water sources within Pillar Ridge that have been so far essentially taken that role on. But we had to shut most of them down at this point. So we believe it's prudent that we act on this immediately and add a connection, an auxiliary connection for the Pillar Ridge community. I'm happy to have Tanya Yurovsky here, so our district water engineer designed this, and I'd like her to speak a little bit about this connection and how important it is for the community, really.
Thank you, Clemens. This project was conceived at the leadership of your general manager in the board's direction to literally address the fire protection for the Pillar Ridge community, but also to improve the reliability of the system overall. It was conceived based on the new main that is in Airport Street, that is a 12-inch main, that is a high pressure main and can deliver a significant fire flow. And so we have now designed the connection for the Pillar Ridge community to that main, and which is separate from the connection that we have now, which is an addition, that is another main that passes under the airport. So it provides significant redundancy, not only for the community, community, but MWSD's citizens at large. It improves the system's reliability because it provides redundancy and operational flexibility. That always serves well to provide fire flow as well as, of course, regular domestic flow. It's basically a safeguard against hazards, improves public health and safety, and again, enhances the overall system resiliency. What the second connection allows is for the other connection to be taken offline for inspection and maintenance with minimum or no service disruptions. So the flexibility is key for staff, and that's how staff ensures that the system is robust and always ready for any eventuality that it's designed for. That's really what this project is about, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Tanya. So our recommendation here is to authorize me to issue the Pillar Ridge project for public bidding. That's not usually a step that we're actually doing. We usually come with the bid documents, but we're asking for this essentially to inform you that this is happening and keep you in the loop on what we're really doing. So we hope that we can bring this back very soon. And according to the timeline, it's in the staff report, start construction fast. Thank you.
All right, Sid?
Tanya, I looked at the diagram and it kind of looked like, it could be that I read it wrong because I'm not an engineer, but does that thing go right down the middle of their main entrance? It looked like it's in the middle of the street coming in off of Airport Street on Granada. You look at the very first diagram.
Not really. Sorry, let me bring this up.
Is that, I mean, they get a lot of traffic right there. I just wondered if I maybe read it wrong.
It's on the side, so it's not.
Gonna be on- It's not in.
It's not blocking the entrance, no. It's
I
not.
thought under the street or something. It's over where the stone wall is.
Yes,
Because the diagram showed the two.
it's on the
Stone walls.
north end of the entrance.
Okay, all right. So I move we go ahead and put it out for bid. Oh, sorry.
The bills or something. 6 months or so ago, well, over last year or so, we were talking about taking the well offline in Pillar Ridge because it had PFAS in it. And in fact, I think as of now, we are committed to taking the well offline. Is this in part remedying that problem? The fact that some of the local wells are bad, is this new water source going to essentially replace that?
In a sense, yes, and in a sense, no. So we had a larger project planned, but that also included actually the Pillar Ridge plant. So that was part of a larger project. So what we're doing is we're speeding up that portion of the project. We have to, of course, refocus on the PFAS concentration. It's all going to alter or change the larger project, what we're going to do with that Pillar Ridge plant. But we know that this portion is something that is needed separately from it. So we separate it out and speed it up and do it now. Thanks.
So I'd like to highlight, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is, Tanya, you were saying this is adding some redundancy, which adds resiliency to the system. This is in some ways not engineering to have just enough to get by, but engineering to make sure that as things happen, we're ready for some obvious eventualities. So it's like this is a wise belt suspenders thing, that if we were penny wise but pound foolish, we might go, oh, we don't need this, but instead we're saying, no, this is actually the smart way that you plan to make sure that you're ready and able to sustain the various different kinds of problems. Is that fair?
That's fair. Yes. That was,
And that, sorry, nothing to do with big wave, right?
No,
No. Antonio, you were going to finish your thought?
uh, no, I'm done.
All right. I just wanted to make sure you had the opportunity if you wanted it. Okay, so Sid, if I understand, you were moving to authorize the general manager?
Put it out to bid, yeah.
I second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so motion
Sorry.
carries unanimously. And let's then go to the next item, review June 30, 2024 fiscal year end audit budget versus actual.
thanks, Scott. So I want to thank Peter for preparing this. This is not something that other agencies are doing. We are going above and beyond on our reporting. We bring this up because the 6/30/24 audit, or excuse me, the year-end budget versus actual actually allows us to properly budget. So this is really the first step in the budgeting, at least that we do. And again, it's an additional step that Peter introduced some years ago, and we stuck to the additional work. We're receiving a benefit from it, and increased transparency, of course. Peter, if you can run us through the report, please.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen and see if I have power to do so, and I do. Good evening, everybody. Okay, I'm gonna, as Clemens said, yes, this is kind of keeps with our normal cadence. Ideally, I would like to have this report prepared and presented when we receive our audit. It doesn't always work out timing wise because there seems to be a few things in motion at that time, and we get our final adjusting entries. So it doesn't always work out timing wise, and then December always gets just kind of squeezed because of the holidays. So next best thing is here, January. Next month we'll get the fiscal year the mid-year budget versus actual. So a very similar looking report, but as Clem was saying, we try to maintain this cadence because it really does help us through the budget process. When I prepare this, I'm looking at it on a regular basis, but it's interesting when you look at it for the annual and we get the comparison, knowing that we have solid numbers as they have gone through the audit process. It opens your eyes to different things, and it really does kind of just build toward the audit, toward the fiscal year 25-26 budget process. So next slide. So like I said, I'm not going to go through each. You have the report in front of you. You have the executive summary. I'm going to go over items that I think are just kind of interesting, or just transactions that are not recurring. So I said, but if there are any questions, please, I said, just let me know, and I'd be happy to go into any variants that you want to discuss, or any details. I know that we have 2 new board members, but I think you've seen these reports as well, as far as at different time frames. But I said this is just the fiscal year end 24 or 23-24, but knowing that we have good numbers here that are, like I said, gone through the audit process. So for the sewer side, I'm going to go through here for revenues, and the 1.167 here, we were the applicant to FEMA for the winter storm event that took place at the SAM plant in 2023. And so because of the way SAM's organized, they are not able to go after FEMA funding, and Montara is. So on behalf of SAM, and Kishan and the staff over at Sam really kind of drove this, but I said 1.167 million received in fiscal year 23-24. There are more coming this current fiscal year, so 24-25, and potentially more in future years. So I said this was helpful, but what we did is we grossed up all revenue, recognized it, and then passed each and every dollar over to Sam. So that's why you'll see I broke this out because I said grants typically go under permits, fees, and other, but when you have 1.167, the variance here was just, he said, it's a visual eyesore. So I thought this looked better. So you'll see here for Sam, for the expense side, this also went out here. And so that's why you'll see our over budget, because I said we didn't net anything. I said we just did the gross of both the revenue and the expenses. Okay. So interest revenue, said this was something that going through the budget process last fiscal year, we had kind of saw we weren't, Leif wasn't really earning very much, and we had moved over to camp. And then, like I said, when the rates increased, we started seeing the returns on our funds in reserve really go up quite a bit. So I said we took a concerted look and effort to really put a lot of our funds. We really reduced our operating bank accounts and put a lot of money toward camp and Leif, and we saw the benefit of that. I said, way over budget, so close to $200,000 for both funds. CIP, I said we budgeted $3.8 million, or sorry, close to $4. We have the project and non-project, and we spent $2. So about half of what we had anticipated. So projects are ongoing, and there's always hiccups, timing. So a number of items go into the timing for these projects, but I said they are ongoing. Our engineers and Clemens really do kind of monitor these, but I said we budgeted $4 million, we spent half. It's kind of what we've come to expect the last few years, just because of all the aspects that we deal with for a major project. After that, okay, so I mean, for me, that sewer. Are there any specific questions that you have for the variances for the sewer fund? I'll stop here because I'm just going to go to water next. Okay, I'm going to move on to water. All right. Well, so this second page here is a year over year. So the first page is budget versus actual. This is audited. Oh man, I saw 3. Sorry, just noticed that. Okay, moving on to water. So other revenue. So this was the Dow Chemical judgment, $1.26 million. This was, I want to say, later in the fiscal year, and other revenue. So this was the main piece there. On the expense side, listen, really, I said, though the variances may look large, so when we have budgeted in the millions, it just nothing operationally wise really saw or kind of caught me up guard as far as, all right, this was, we were wildly off. Didn't really take place. Interest, I said, budgeted for $60,000, $224,000. So that piece is there. Also we have CIP. We had budgeted, said, really close to $4 million, and really could not get a lot of the projects up and running for this current or this past fiscal year. So we talked about one right now as far as there are projects that our engineers and the district are looking at, and I said we have the funds to begin them and finish them. So I said we have the funds available to complete the project, but just with dealing with various hurdles and roadblocks, they have not come off yet. I always like to go over debt because you see just we retired, what is it, $1.3 million in principal debt. GO bonds, we are 3 years away. August 1st, 2028, the GO bonds will be fully paid off. And so I said, that's always interesting to look at. So these are annual basis, and said, yeah, just tackling our debt and reducing it every year, and no plans for any new debt issuances. So I said all good stuff, and I said all going back to the audit process. Clean audit, minimal audit adjustments, and yes, said clean opinion. So said all in all positive stuff. I said this is all going to help us to hopefully do a better job budgeting for next cycle. There are always things that we learn. So, any questions?
When did you say the bond will be paid off again?
3 years.
August 1st, 2028 is the final payment.
August 1st?
2028.
Thank you so much.
Should have a party.
Yeah,
Thank you for the clear reminder. I can't believe we're this far down that path. That's great news. And where did all the time go? Okay, well, I really appreciate getting this level of information and I really appreciate that this has become a regular part. I really do think it's valuable. I agree with you, and I just want to commend you both and anyone else who participated in helping get it here to us.
I'll second that. As a data guy, the only way you really know if you understand things is by the predictions right next to what actually shows up, and do that over and over.
Yeah, because there you'll see things like, how come that number's so much smaller? It's like, well, those products are that's right. So you get all these kind of events and boundary conditions. Sid?
we did have, gosh, now I forgot her name, but the woman that came to talk to us about the film festival, and I went to to see the grab. That was the thing about how people are buying up water and taking up land in America. Harvey was there at the grand opening. That was their opening night of the film festival. And one of the things he said, I go, well, now that you're not on the city council anymore, what are you going to do? And he goes, I want to make the coastline all one big city. So we are possibly a target because we'll be paid off on our water bonds. So I just, hopefully we won't be that grab. That movie, The Grab, was really interesting and eye-opening. So
we put a tremendous, the community has put a tremendous investment into taking a water system that was in very bad shape,
right.
And although the revenues were being revenue supply was being sucked dry and sent off far away
to an absentee landlord,
and we've done a lot of work to put it into a water system that we can all be very proud of and confident in, and I think our commitment to the local control is without question. So thanks for that reminder. We still got a few things to do. Let's move on to item 5, receipt of Association of California Water Agencies Joint Powers Authority President Special Recognition Award.
Thanks, Scott. So what this really is an acknowledgement that we did not have any workers' comp claims in recent years that increased our contribution to the insurance. So very happy to report that we'll continue operating with minimal involvement of our insurance. Means the guys are safe. The guys are watching out for each other. They are trained and are continue to train to focus on their own safety, and that shows. We did have an issue here at the district with that at one point, and switched to the Aqua Joint Powers Insurance Agency. And it has been a very good step. Aqua JPIA is reaching out. It's a partner in this. They're helping us with wherever they can to improve our safety, and they've been a very good partner in this. So I want to thank our staff for essentially watching out for us, and ultimately then also the community, of course.
Please commend them on our behalf too. It's great.
Yeah, I want to say, this record of safety is no accident, that it takes real work to be this safe. And, the team's doing a great job training and, living it out and in the day-to-day work. And to the community, they're not just taking care of each other. They're taking care of the community as they work. They're taking care of, it goes to the bottom line that they're safe. And so things, we don't have the kind of expenses that come from unsafe work. But it's also just this is the right thing to do. Take care of each other and to be safe and doing work that if you haven't seen some of their work up close, without training, it would be not a good idea to be doing. So some of their work is pretty intense. So a big thank you and our commendation for this. This is the result of some hard work, and we really appreciate it. I'm glad to see it,
Keep it up.
and really love that it's a safe work environment, and keep that up. Okay, let's go to review and possible action concerning appointment of board officers and committee assignments.
Yeah, we have the usual chart that indicates the current positions and committee assignments for each board member, and there's space to select the person for each such position for this current calendar year. And the assignments are effective now until the end of next year. So recommendation, appoint district officers and committee assignments for 2025.
Can I ask a question before we get started?
Sure.
Sorry, I lost my glasses. I was looking at Clemens, but he was boring. Who does our website?
Who does our website?
Yeah. I was looking something up today and I looked and it still had Rick Loman on one of the things, one of our pages.
So I mean, it's ultimately our responsibility, so we'll have to change that. I don't know where you saw Rick Loman listed.
If you could take that offline, and we see things like that, just send it to Clemens and we can get that taken care of.
Okay.
Okay, so you don't have Catherine here. We were hoping to have her here.
She's here.
Oh, she's here.
Oh, just unmute.
Oh, hi, Catherine. Okay, so do we have what time Catherine got here for the record?
I think about 10 minutes ago. Yes, now Catherine, yes, you're unmuted now, Catherine.
Great.
Yeah,
Let's see.
my apologies, guys. I am at the California Special District Association Board meeting, which will be at 9:30 tomorrow morning, and I didn't want to drive up. And so I was talking to some of the CSDA staff, and I can tell you more about that later, maybe, but anyway, it's a good organization and we need them more than ever.
I'm so sorry to hear about Ed, Catherine. My condolences.
Thank you.
All right, so we've got a number of positions and agency representatives and committees to talk through. I'm going to tee it off by saying that Peter Decker has contributed massively to different positions in previous years. This year, he's not going to be taking on that kind of burden, so we're going to have to distribute some of that load. But I do want to take the opportunity to express our gratitude, because Peter brought a whole new level of energy to the job of treasurer, and I think many times brought things to our attention, to staff's attention, to our consultants' attention, to our colleagues at SAM's attention. Things that really helped us all work better and smarter. So with that, let's turn to the positions for the president pro tem, secretary pro tem, and treasurer. We'll hear from my colleagues. Do you have preferences?
I think we need to switch it up because I noticed what happened at the Pacifica City Council meeting when they had their, did you pay attention what happened to their?
I have, but we don't and haven't operated like that.
Well,
They have a very different history.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
okay, they quickly re-upped the same people that had already had the same positions time after time and left out people that didn't get a chance. And that was not a way to grow members that didn't get an opportunity to learn. And that's no way to run a board.
You're right. I don't think this board has ever shown an unwillingness to train people.
Right.
I'm a beneficiary of way more training than I deserve.
Right.
Well,
So,
I think in their case, there was actually kind of a presumption that there'd be a rotation,
right, and it didn't happen.
and it didn't happen. But that's never how we've operated. It's always been, every year the board exercises its discretion to choose the path for the coming year.
Exactly. So with that in mind, I think we should offer some opportunity for other people to take positions.
Well, I'll jump in for what I can speak. Now that I've talked to Catherine and Clemens, I'm not say happy because it's incredibly difficult, but I'd be willing to try the treasurer position since they both told me they're willing to help me learn whatever I need. Because I'm very good with science spreadsheets, which look like accounting spreadsheets, but you think differently with them. And so it's going to be like learning a foreign language a little bit.
Well,
But I'd be happy to do it because I know it needs to be done.
I appreciate your willingness, and it's, having Peter, having Clemens, it's a very strong team that.
Yeah.
That
I've got look at Peter.
not only got it all covered, but they're great teachers too.
I'd like to serve on SAM. Because I know Peter resigned from SAM. So we didn't really nominate anyone to.
Oh, actually, as president, that's filling that vacancy. I wanted myself back into that. Well, that's the president's job, is to make sure that that's covered.
But that's for last year, you filled it in, but going forward,
Oh, two meetings. So,
but I'm sorry.
2 meetings. So,
Okay, so for this next year, I would like to be serving on SAM.
Well, I need to stay on SAM. And given that there are already 3 new members on SAM, we need at least an equal number with experience to help them along. So I'd like to see Scott stay on SAM.
yeah, it was interesting Monday night. There was a SAM meeting Monday night, and yeah, we
Smoothly. I
it
thought.
did. It did. It was. I was grateful for that.
So was I.
It was quite collegial, but we do have some new faces, and so there's going to be. It's going to be interesting. It's always interesting, as you know, and as you will learn as new faces come along behind you. Change is good and change is interesting, and change is also a time. I'm pretty much in agreement with Catherine. There's some continuity in history at the table, but I think we're at a kind of a critical juncture at the moment.
One of the W's is gone is blessed.
Well,
I think. I could be wrong, but
and I think right now is a moment where we've got an opportunity to improve some relationships, and I think Monday night was a hopeful start to the year.
it was.
I'd like to continue that for a while, and I'm if we get to a point where we got a little more breathing room on that, I would love to open up opportunity on that.
You think after the lawsuit or after July?
Well, see, one of the things about one of the things about nurturing and trying to work on improving that relationship of, I don't want to be bringing up things like that,
Right.
you know, so it's just, we can tread lightly and respectfully and see what we can do. But I'm hopeful that like mid-year, maybe we can take another look. Sound okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
Are we still talking committees in general?
Well, I mean, President Pro Tem, Secretary Pro Tem, this one's easy. It's whoever's not secretary, I'll put this in a line. That way any of us can sign it.
Yeah,
It's been a very effective.
I love this system of alternates and stuff like that. I'm
Yeah.
good with that.
Yeah, so we can give each other backup for that. Catherine, did you have any suggestions or preferences here? That's it.
I'd love to be,
It'd be the Scott and Catherine show again, probably.
Go ahead, Catherine.
I'm not quite sure what to say. I support Bill for treasurer.
Thank you.
I have experience both as secretary and as vice president, and am happy to do either one. I'll leave, and I will be also happy to be on the finance committee with Bill.
Okay. And about the president position, I'm not going to speak to that since I hold that position now.
Well, I would like you to stay president. I think you've got, again, this is going to be a tough year. Barbara Dye was under the assumption that we were going to be rewriting the JPA this year. She said that at a meeting today. And so I think it's very important that you and I stay on, Sam, to keep a sense of the history there. There are 3 new members, Paul Nagengast and Nancy from GCSD. And now why am I forgetting? And we're the same, but anyway. So I think it's very important for those of us who have a sense of history and have a sense of what has worked and what hasn't worked for Sam to stay there. And I think
I do think
required by
Go
our
ahead. Go ahead, Catherine. I'm sorry. I accidentally stepped on you.
I think that secretary is required by our bylaws.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's see if we can do the board and let's go ahead and take care of the board and then we can move on to the agency reps. We've already spoken some to that, but let's take care of the board first.
No.
So you want to put that as a motion, Catherine?
I will put approving you and as president and Bill as treasurer. That's my motion.
Okay, Sid, I wanted to ask, were you interested in the secretary slot?
No.
No? Okay. So,
Maybe Catherine would like to be that.
well, Catherine has served in that role. And I'm sure Catherine, I mean, it's not in addition, you know, it's a good pairing with the pro tem, if you're okay with that. Catherine, I can't see your face, so I'm not sure if we're connecting on this.
I would be happy to be vice chair.
Okay, and then the secretary position as well, would you carry that, or,
Happy to do.
I'm sorry?
I would be happy to also take on the secretary. If Sid doesn't want it, that's fine. It's an important position and I'm happy to do that.
You wanna,
I do not want to be secretary.
you want to give us a restatement of,
Well, I'd be happy to, so we're talking about the offices. I'm happy to be treasurer, and that I think would be plenty for me.
okay. So it's been, we've had suggestions, basically retain the shape of it, as is, but with you, with Bill as treasurer.
Yep.
And then on the pro tem, we would not put Peter in the rotation. Let's see, the alternates were not the president pro tem. Interesting. I think there was something, I don't recall, anyway, so that way we would have two alternates for the secretary.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, sorry.
No, I
Okay.
mean, it looks like you're just gonna rubber stamp last year's thing.
Well, we discussed it as a team, and then as a team, we make a decision.
Well, we're talking about the board. It doesn't sound like you wanted to be any of the other things.
I wouldn't mind stepping up to president pro tem so that I could learn a new office. Since I didn't get a chance to do anything last year,
Mhm.
right? Did I?
Well, this is, you know, the secretary role is one of those offices, and we're offering.
It seems like secretary is kind of.
Last year, I didn't have any opportunity to do anything though. So I'm just saying,
No. I'm gonna say, okay, what I'm hearing would be kind of the straw poll on is, the one change is, Bill Sofsky as treasurer. And,
and Scott and Catherine are still gonna keep the
May
same.
I move that we adopt that slate?
well, this is how things go. I haven't always. There have been many times where.
But I will second Bill's motion.
I didn't hear what the motion was.
That we adopt the thing Scott just said.
What was it? I didn't hear.
It's as written with the change at treasurer with Bill Sofsky, replacing Peter.
Okay,
And then, also,
alternates are the same.
well, we take Peter off the alternate on secretary pro tem.
Okay,
Yeah. So, this one would need to be a roll call.
Yes. Director Slater Carter,
Yes,
Director Young,
no,
Director Boyd,
Yes,
Director Softy.
Yes.
okay. So the board of directors appointments are, that passes, 3-1. Agency representatives, we've had some discussion on SAM, CSDA and Aqua.
Excuse me, do you accept public comment on agenda items?
Thank you, that's a good question. Christine, this topic as well, I don't think there's any exceptions, so I should be taking public comment on this as well. Is that correct, Christine?
I'm sorry, it's a little garbled. Could you repeat your question, President Boyd?
I think I'm in error for not having solicited public comment on this item before taking a vote, and I'm checking with you. That's something that we should do, correct?
Yes, this is an agenda item and public comment is appropriate.
Okay, I apologize, and please go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was just going to say that it was clear that there was a discussion of a member that would like another position. And it is customary for such as the Board of Supervisors to rotate the presidency and vice presidency, as well as the Mid-Coast Community Council. They also had new officers with new members. So they really do offer people opportunities for growth. And I think if you want to maintain and have community support and people who want to join the board, it would be beneficial if you allow people to move in those roles. And it just concerns me that it seems like the same people, and I understand your expertise. It's very important to have you and have that. But if someone wants to learn something, having a senior in that seat with a newbie, there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. And so I was just going to say, I mean, if you want to have any representation on the board, I think it's important to show people that when they join, that they can also have growth. And as far as the secretary position, it's a very difficult one. I took that on at the MCC, and it's extraordinarily time consuming, and it's really administrative. So I just wanted to point that out as well. But thank you. I appreciate you accepting my comment.
Thank you, Ann. Points well made. I really appreciate that. I will note Bill's comment. Don't want that to go by. Do you want to restate what you said?
I've said lots of things and I don't always remember.
Well, you were talking about the opportunity to train and learn.
Well, training and learning, of course, I'm going to be learning a whole bunch about accounting stuff, and that's probably as miserable as anybody else has. But in this case, my impression is training to be present. The secretary is training as well as a vice president would be. So I actually said, why are you interested in one and not the other? I guess I don't understand.
Because I have served on other boards before, and I have been a secretary, and I have been president, and I have been vice president. I think Catherine has lots of other duties in other boards. She doesn't have to be the power person in every single board. And she could step aside for a little bit and let somebody else learn, but she's not willing to. So I don't know. There's something going on where Catherine and Scott want to run everything and not step aside for let anyone else have an opportunity. I'm making my point. They don't want anyone else to run it or even have the chance to learn. So that's
Not how I read it.
okay. Then why are they not allowing it? Tell me why it's important that Catherine be in charge. Why can't I not be president pro tem this time? If I said I wanted it, I'm willing to do it.
Well, actually, we discussed this in previous years where I guess we've kind of gotten to a shorthand version of this, but let me elaborate a little bit.
Okay.
We're in the midst of some critical matters that we typically discuss in closed session.
Okay.
And given the nature of some of those things, these roles have a bearing on how we carry ourselves through these things. And this is where some of the experience and perspective and the long investment that Catherine and I have made in working on committees and other work. It seems important right now, and I wish these matters were wrapped up so that we weren't looking at such high stakes. Not every year in this board has been that way, but I wish I could say recent events, but long-running recent events have led us to some critical junctures. And as you already pointed out, this year we're hoping is perhaps a year of resolution on that, and I would really hope we can get through this. But that has been what we have in previous years discussed a bit more at this juncture in talking about these assignments. So perhaps we jumped past that today, but that's been a significant matter.
Well, let's see how we go when we get to the committee assignments then.
Okay.
All right.
Now, I was going to point out that there's I'll leave that be.
Go ahead. Let's see how we go. Because
So-
you look down the list, it's all Catherine.
Well, it is entirely true that Catherine has invested heavily in her volunteer spare time to work for this district.
That's great,
And
but
so
let
she-
somebody else have a chance.
Well, a lot of this is she showed up and volunteered to put in the time. So that's
It's time
how.
for some other people to have a turn.
I'm sorry.
Catherine, give me just a second. Give me just a second.
Personal attacks and I call them.
Hang on. What I just said, I guess I'm not being as clear as I'd like to be. Much of the work that Catherine has taken on, Catherine has initiated, stepped up, volunteered, and made herself available, and then put in the time.
Right.
This is initiating these things, making them happen. Doesn't come from asking for permission to be given an assignment. This comes from stepping into the work.
But it also involves muscling other people out of the way. So in this case, this is a new year. There's other people willing to help and offering to do the assignments. Let some other people do it. That's all. I'm asking.
We'll talk about the ad hoc committees here in a second, but let's talk about the agency representative.
Right.
I think we've talked about Sam a good bit. On CSDA, I'm very happy with what Catherine's been doing there. I think it's great that we have alternates down the line, and I think there's opportunity for anyone to attend CSDA events and get the CSDA trainings and do things to prepare to step into a CSDA member role. But for the time being, I think Catherine has done that work and is well prepared to represent us at CSDA.
Okay, as far as CSDA goes, last year I offered to put in to Clemens they offer the opportunity to have at their annual thing. Trying to think of the name. Where you get honored, but you have to apply for it. And I offered to apply for MWSD to get one of those things. And he said there wasn't enough time to do it, or we couldn't do it, or something. I'm willing to do that this year for our board. So can I do that in advance, offer to do that? So we didn't even try to get one of them for a small district.
I think that's actually separate and apart from being the CSDA representative.
I'm saying I'm willing to do it. Nobody even
That's a
stepped up to
wonderful
do it.
offer.
I don't think you need permission to talk to Clemens to see if we can get something, like to do something.
Told me not to do it.
Have another conversation with Clemens.
It's early enough in the year. I'd like to do it.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Okay.
That's okay. Why don't we take
Give
it
us a
offline?
chance for, is it an award?
There's various awards and you have to submit for them, just like when I went to CSDA, I think it was in the September timeframe. It was their annual meeting and they gave a whole bunch of awards out at that meeting to different districts. We didn't get one because we didn't apply for any, but then the following year I offered to apply for one and you said, no, don't apply.
I'm not sure why I would say no to.
Let me direct,
Just saying,
let me direct you both
not till
to have a
September.
conversation.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Direct you both to have a conversation and bring back to the board any opportunity that we might have.
Okay,
So thank you for volunteering for that.
I will.
And that's, if that leads to an award, all right.
it'd be great.
Okay, Bill, are you doing okay with that one?
Aqua was wonderful for me because it's a bunch of water technology things, so I can go geek out with every one of the vendors on his specialty, and I learn a ton about what's going on. I got to hear the Paradise City manager say what his life was like a couple of years ago.
Oh, my.
So going to those conferences has been personally wonderful for me. I don't know how much I'm helping the board other than just by learning stuff.
No, being there, learning, building the relationship.
So I'm happy with it, but on the other hand, if Sid's striking it out for something, and wants to junk it or something like that, I'm not, I'm enjoying it. But I don't know how much it's really doing the common good. And
Well, there are times I can tell you, just foreshadow some things. You may at some point want to make an appeal to Sacramento. Or, so knowing some people who might sign on to a letter, that's a very handy thing. Knowing enough people that should we want to go to Aqua to perhaps lobby for something. Aqua does some really good work there and, young people.
We should talk about that offline too.
So there's there's all the stuff that we learned from sharing with our colleagues at other agencies. And, you know, this is a learning business we're in. So with that, Sid, I'll commit to talk to you in, say, May. And we'll check in on where we are. Okay.
Just, I want to let you know, when I was president of Women's Council of Realtors, our chapter got the mega chapter pinnacle award for the entire nation for Women's Council of Realtors at the national meeting. So I like to apply for things like that. It's important.
Yeah.
And we got in front of the entire group. So doesn't hurt to apply.
No,
You don't get it, but
Right.
if you do get it, it's an award, just like getting the thing we got tonight. So anyway.
Okay. Well, let's go to committees, budget and finance.
Like I'm on that.
Obviously, our new treasurer is going to step in and it's Peter. Catherine, you volunteered on this, yes?
Yes.
And Peter is not gonna do it, but Bill is.
Well, the treasurer,
Budget and finance, what Clement said is the treasurer is basically the head of the finance committee.
yeah.
It's not like the treasurer of an organization who is personally responsible, because Clement is responsible for the budget, and our treasurer is responsible for looking over it and understanding.
What we did Monday night at Sam,
Yeah.
was cheap and, you know, put a little bit of Sam business up forward here.
Yeah.
We set up a budget and finance committee that doesn't have the treasurer on it, out of some sense of balance, I think. And I'm curious to see how that's going to go, because I really think that committee needs the treasurer on it, but you know,
So
right.
I forgot, Barb Dice on it, but not.
I don't remember the composition, but
Yeah, I
it was,
forgot.
yeah, but our treasurer is not.
I watched it, but I forgot already.
Yeah, it's let's call it an unusual arrangement, but let's see how it goes.
So it's gonna be Catherine and who then?
And Bill,
Bill.
our new treasurer.
On the other hand, now that I'm on budget and finance committee, my love of the personnel committee is evaporating. I mean, it's not a bad committee, it's just I don't.
No, there's some balance is. Most of us, not Catherine, but most of us need some balance in our life. I say it with love.
Who's in Sacramento?
So here, I think I'm gonna suggest Sid for personnel along with Catherine.
I think I would suggest that should be you.
Well, it could be me. But I'm not looking to take on a whole lot of extra stuff either. I mean, I do have a day job.
But you want to be with Catherine.
I need you to not put words in my mouth.
Okay, but you and Catherine seem to be doing a lot together, so why don't you run it with her?
Okay, I was offering.
I know, it's like oil and water with her and me, it seems.
Well, okay,
So-
fair.
Yeah.
Let's give ourselves.
I'm not really sure what that committee even does.
Well, this things like preparation for the manager's performance evaluation.
Yeah,
There's a good bit of work that goes into that. Let's go to, okay, so for that, I guess I'll step in, Bill, let you focus on the budget and finance. And honestly, at this point, I'm starting to really feel the, you know, yeah, playing them down, exactly. But you know, we've got to be resilient as well. So the extra water connection here. Ad hoc committees. Now, ad hoc committees are interesting because they don't have a regular schedule, so they're not agendized and public notice, and they're not open meetings. But these are as needed. So recycling and solid waste. This is dealing with ecology. Typically, it can be a little bit broader, but are you both okay sticking with that?
I'm happy on that.
I'm happy to be on that one.
Okay, and then connect the coast. Do we have any motion on that? Any action?
That one already got put to bed. It ended like 2 years ago, I think.
Okay, why don't we can reconstitute a committee at any time.
Yep.
Why don't we scratch that one off the list?
The one that they have going is the Moss Beach Corridor Caltrans project that's good through 2030. The Connect the Coast side is unfunded through the county and they put it in a drawer.
Well, if we see a need for an ad hoc committee to deal with this ongoing thing, we can reconstitute that, but let's call this one done and we can bring it back in whatever new form at a subsequent meeting if we think that's a good idea. On the legislative committee, this is typically very ad hoc as we have need or opportunity to do outreach, typically in the Sacramento, where Catherine has put a lot of time building relationships.
I'd like to be on the strategic plan committee.
I've already made my announcement about strategic plan stuff months ago that I
You
very
wanna be
much
on
want to
it?
be. So yeah, I want to be on. it.
I'll work with you on it.
So we'll
Bill and Sid.
Bill and Sid, okay, Catherine, you good with that? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said, I think that's a good one.
Okay,
As the bitch who's in control, so I'm being told.
well, all right, well, what I can see is we're at the bottom of the list. Clemens, do you think you have all that captured, or do you want me to reiterate any of that?
I think we got it.
Okay.
You want to reiterate it to make it clear to everybody, that would be good, but we took notes and
I'm eager to move on to the next item.
good, let's do that.
But basically, here on the ad hoc committees, let's just reiterate that. So this recycling and solid waste is Bill and Sid. Connect the Coast, we're turning that one off. Legislative is Catherine. Strategic plan progress is Sid and Bill. So we've completely had a big giant of people on that last one. Completely overturned that one. Okay.
Are we gonna go over the ones that are on this part with the reports? Because they're almost all Catherine there too. I often do the fire board and
We have, some of these are like community interests.
yeah,
Some of
Midcoast
them
Community
are-
Council, Greg's not on it anymore, and she used to let him do it. But
Okay.
We're now moving to about this thing.
Right.
I think we're good on the agenda item. Let's go back to. Let's see if I can find my copy of the agenda. So now we're down into reports, and just as before we start, thank you for raising the question. For Sam, that report is always offered by someone sitting on Sam. MCC, Catherine used to be the one keeping the bird's eye on that, but we haven't put Greg's name on here, even though he's been doing that for years. Long enough that he's no longer on there. I think on this one, let's take the name off.
Yeah, sure.
And then we can see how it goes in terms of who's got MWSD interesting Midcoast Council things. And we've been pretty open as the only locally elected body that can act with authority and budget. We've provided a venue for people to bring issues and get broader community awareness. So I hope we can continue to be an outlet that amplifies some of the interesting things that are coming out at the Midcoast Council. I guess I should take the opportunity to say Greg has done a great service to the community. For years, attending not just the Midcoast Council meeting, and for years, not just writing reports and talking to electeds and making phone calls to people all over, professional engineers and people on staff at different government bodies, and putting it all together and doing a yeoman's job of putting together reports and trying to build consensus on a number of things. And we're going to miss his representation on the council, and he's been just terrific at providing a public voice here at MWSD. And has been one of our most regular attendees and participants. So
yes. Would you like me to give a report for the last meeting?
Well, let me just talk through the names on these things. So,
Okay.
so CFDA,
Reports.
CFDA and LAFCO, these are going to be the person appointed into that slot, and attorney's report, director's report, and general manager reports. Those are the right people. So let's start now with sewer authority. Catherine, did you have anything you wanted to say about the sewer authority meeting?
We're starting to work on the budget at the finance committee hearing today, or meeting. And so that's, we're getting started on that. We see staff and economists see uncertainty ahead as to what costs are going to go up and what's going to happen to the budget. As Keishan was saying, the 3% average increase was good for a long time, and then recently it has not been a viable forecasting mechanism. And that's pretty much where we left it. And at the meeting, we introduced the new board members and discussed, I don't have the agenda in front of me, but we were out by 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I do have it in front of me, Catherine. And so we met Paul Nagengast, who is no stranger to the coast side at all. We know him from many years of working for the city of Half Moon Bay in a variety of roles. So good to see him on the board serving as a city council member representative. And then Nancy Marsh is newly in from GCSD, and she's got a tremendous amount of experience as well. So this will be an interesting new recipe of folks at the table. And it was a good meeting. We took care of all the officers and whatnot. And in the monthly manager's report, that's where we got some of the information that is showing us how the team is preparing for working on the budget. So that was good, informative information, and it was short. And so if you're interested at all in the budget, Sam, that meeting might have some items of interest right towards the end.
Once I get my sea legs on our business, I'll worry about others.
I have a question.
It was short. It was a good short summary. I don't know. Okay.
I watched it and I was curious that they didn't seem to object to you guys mentioning wet weather storage for Half Moon Bay.
Well, let's take the win and see how it looks at our next meeting.
Right.
It was quite a collegial meeting.
And I did note that it really was, and I took, I was encouraged by that. And also Barbara Dye mentioned that if they did want to put more in at the Burnham Strip, that you guys had to, hurry it up because they're still planning to put the park in.
And that's a real consideration.
Yeah.
There's a lot of slam work that some people in this room and on the Zoom had there's a lot of work put into making sure that we would know what to do if we got the funds to increase it to the size that we really had as the key design point.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things, we did have a discussion around the size of storms, and I think actually the LA fires kind of picked it off. It's like, we're getting some pretty tremendous, hugely weather-driven events. Yeah. And that led to discussion of flooding in Half Moon Bay.
And
big rain. And it's very, it comes right home when your yard is flooded and you live in a flat area like Half Moon Bay, the water has nowhere to go unless you specifically engineer for it. And this goes to, building standards and all sorts of things. And, here on the coast side, we've got, up here in Montara, we've got issues with stormwater runoff and that tremendous gouging of like down at the bottom on the north side. We've got a creek, but it's really just this eroded channel where water flows through. And the county who's got the responsibility for that hasn't really stepped up for it. And you know what? We've got some alignment between us here in the north and them there in the south on when it rains, we all have a problem. And we agreed to bring that back as a discussion item because all of that water does impinge on the sewer system. And if we can maybe figure out some way to get some attention to the water above the ground, maybe we can take some load off of the water under the ground.
Two points that are contained in that, which are so important, I want to just reemphasize because they're dead center to what I'm thinking about. The first is that storms are going to get worse. Global warming, every possible climate model says extreme weather events are going to go up and up and up, and that means heavy surf too. It was a bomb cyclone, which gave us the world's record wave. Half a month, 2 weeks ago here. Those are hitting Montara, those are hitting everywhere. So we need to be expecting more weather events. And the coast side the county needs to recognize the coast side is an outlier in deep ways. We get bigger waves, we get more storms, more fire dangers, tsunamis, great white sharks are a disaster. We have a 2-lane road, so it's a disaster for evacuating. We need evacuation messages, which don't tell you to go to a website. So we need to actually make plans regarding all these disasters which are going to come our way. And we need permission to make plans on our own and not have people in the flatland on the other side of the hill deciding what we need.
And
So this is, I think this is really just to your point that where we find common interest, we can have some good discussions
Right.
with people who turn out to be very knowledgeable colleagues who have a long history of work in things that are good for the coast and the coast side. So let's find alignment and let's work together where we can. It's always a good idea. You had one more thought.
the thing is, MWSD worked to get the FEMA funding last time. We don't know if our incoming administration is going to fund FEMA for California. I don't say it like that, but we just don't know that. So we really have to be.
There's a lot of reasons, yeah.
We have to be cautious going forward with what happens with sewer overflows or possible sewer overflows. We came within, was it 6 inches of overflowing the plant last time? There was a big storm. So if we can do a wet weather storage, that would be great.
Catherine, I'm sorry, I just now saw your hand.
Thank you. The reason for the flood at the plant was because because the board had neglected to put in a substantial size berm. And if we could get the money to put in a more substantial berm, we would protect the plant far more than from the national or from the regional flooding, the creeks and there was a discussion at the Harbor District, and we are going to talk to our representatives about ports in Washington, D.C. next month. But it turns out that the Army Corps of Engineers had actually predicted those kinds of erosion problems from the breakwater all the way down to the SAM plant. And one of the things I'm working on, and hopefully others can join, is to get an artificial reef installed. Because that would give us back our beaches, maintain our surf, and protect our bluffs. And I've been talking to people about that for going on a year now. And so there are, and I've also been I was talking to off the line today, but trying to find out where in Half Moon Bay, if they wanted to, they could put in their own holding tanks to help protect the plant from these floods. And the person I was talking to, I suggested that they look more closely at what's in the Burnham Strip. And we're not the source of the problem. Half Moon Bay, as Sid has pointed out, has gone from 52% of the dry weather flow up to 63. And as Greg's been trying to do, we can't even get any clue as to what they're sending down their pipes from I during these spectacular rainstorms.
Let me just, we still have a few things we got to do tonight, some in closed session, so I want to
Right.
get on there. I do just, let me circle back and put a button on this, Bill. When you think about Aqua, it hadn't occurred to me until you made the comment, but when you're at Aqua meetings, you meet people from all over California, including parts where the politics are very different from here in the Bay Area.
That's amazing. A lot of cowboy hats.
And building respectful relationships with people who start from a position of, well, maybe our politics are really different, but we have shared interests. If they learn to respect our interests and we respect theirs, then when their friends back east have an opinion, they might put in a good word. But some of these things happen in very subtle ways, and so I'm sure there, I know you will, but please be kind and extend great courtesy to our friends from all over California.
Half Moon Bay has a seat on one shoreline. I don't know if we can get a seat there. Ray was on it last year. I don't know, but that might be another option.
It's
a thought.
It's an interesting idea.
I don't think there's any mid-coast
We
representation.
could, I could talk a little more. I went to a couple of the earliest meetings, but life
You're
overtook.
busy.
Yeah, and all the meetings were in the middle of the workday.
Right.
But
So MCC,
so MCC.
I was at that.
The question,
Yeah.
it's only cities. There is special district representation on it.
And
Okay, well,
listen for us.
that's something I want to get back to and catch up on, and details like that. That's really interesting because in the earliest meetings, it was leaders from all sorts of community organizations and elected and otherwise. So it sounds like they may have consolidated down to a narrower focus. But what I remember from the meeting I went to was something that was really obvious in retrospect, but every community that has a sewer plant puts it at the bottom where gravity takes everything best they can. And when you're, say, Bayside, where's your sewer plant going to be? It's going to be right at the edge of the bay, where when the water rises, this is going to be a problem. And everybody's like, whoa, that's bad. And of course, we're familiar with that problem too. But all right. Let's move to Mikos Community Council. It's already 9:30, by the way, so.
Okay, I'll be fast. I attended the meeting virtually and Greg stepped down, but they did talk about his stormwater report. He's sending it to all the different associations. I don't know if he sent it to you yet, Greg. He's going to want your feedback and get it back to him as soon as possible. The thing about it, the county is, Catherine, you were on the stormwater committee when Jim Porter was the head of DPW, correct?
I did a lot of the work on that, Sid.
And now the county is saying, well, we turned down being a district for stormwater, but I went to the Civics 101 class and they said that the stormwater is DPW's purview for all of the county unincorporated county areas. So I don't know if they're just telling us they can't fund stormwater for the mid-coast because they don't want to. Anyway, it's a long story, but I think they're shining us on and not wanting to fund our stormwater issues. but there is a report that he's coming out with for all the stormwater issues in the mid-coast. So I hope that we'll look it over and get back to him on the part that affects MWSD. And then they say goodbye to the old people that are off the committee, which is Ann and Greg and one other person, I forgot who left the committee, but also now they signed in 3 new people that were appointed by the county because nobody ran in the election. And Claire is the new chair of the MCC. So that's really all I have to report because it was a fairly short meeting.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
CSDA and LAFCO, Catherine?
LAFCO had a meeting yesterday and they approved the MSR for the Harbor District, which was very positive. And they were talking about, what was it? The city of Millbrae, I think. Otherwise, it was mostly just routine business, committee appointments and officers and that kind of thing. They have also, I have taken Broadmoor Police Protection District as a little group that needs support from other special districts. They're very tiny. LAFCO suggested that they should dissolve the district, and fortunately the special districts on CSDA managed to convince, on LAFCO managed to convince the other LAFCO folks that we give them some time, the Broadmoor Police Protection District, to get themselves in order. And they do have a new board member who I think will be making a big difference. Otherwise, the rest was all just routine, like I say, committee business and officers. CSDA, we haven't had a meeting in a while, and I'm at the California CSDA, and our meeting is tomorrow morning. And so that's what's going on with that.
Can I ask you, Catherine, a question about the Harbor District? I tried to listen to your last meeting when it was recorded on Zoom, and the owl cuts you off and you couldn't hear a lot of what you were saying. So can they get some live recording? Because it's so choppy, you can't hear half of what you say. I don't know why. But the other thing is, how are they going to fund what they were talking about at your last meeting?
That's off topic.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go to Christine, attorney's report.
No report.
Okay, thank you. Any director's reports? And general manager's report, anything to add to your agenda report?
Well, I want to highlight something that's actually in the report. We've been reporting previously about the Weimar Sewer and Water Relocation Project. This is something where we've received funds for the design of the essentially sorting out of all the utilities that are in Weimar Street. It's very important for us. One of the main issues is there's a sewer pipeline that's running in the Strand, which is a road that's non-existent anymore. It's essentially the bluffs right now. Bill just pointed to the fact of increased energy that we received from the Pacific Ocean. So we've expect since a long time that there will be some trouble with this sewer line. That sewer line needs to be relocated. That's one of the main issues here. And we're also very hopeful that there will actually be follow-up grants that allow for the construction So RCD is already looking out for us on that front. This is a grant that the RCD played the main role in getting that grant for us. And so it's a cooperation with the Sanitary County Resource Control District. And so we're now reaching out for the first time directly to the affected parties. There is a number of letters that will go out and they will be kept in the loop. As soon as we know more details, we will share those with the neighborhood. But it's all in the planning stage, so this is a very early outreach. It's also a joint letter from RCD and Montara Water and Sanitary District together.
Question for Sid?
On your manager's report, you mentioned 999 Ocean Boulevard, that they gave up their water connection, or maybe it was the sewer connection, because they're taking away the residential aspect and turning it into a park. Does that become available, or how does that work?
You'd have to approach the property owner and ask those questions.
Oh.
But that's the idea, that this is being turned into a parklet and essentially being handed over to Post. But that's not.
Does that mean he can sell his water and sewer connection then?
No,
The connection will remain for irrigation purposes.
I see. And did he have a sewer connection too?
Sewer connection is abandoned.
Okay, so he can't resell it like a gray water or whatever, I mean, gray connection.
There's nothing that would prevent, reestablishing these connections for domestic purposes, except the current owner's goal to prevent this and hand this over to Post for exactly this.
Right, so if they wanted to put a bathroom there the way,
This is, we're way off topic.
okay.
Okay. 15, I see the item on the code section. I'm sorry, so we've got closed session items. Christine, we're still gonna need this one, yes? Okay. So this brings us to an end of the open session. We want to thank the members of the public. Before we go, I'll mention that what we have in closed session is conference with legal counsel on existing litigation in Half Moon Bay versus the other coastside agencies matter, long running, but let's pray for some resolution on that soon. And with that, thank you very much for your participation. Glad you were here, and look forward to seeing you next time. With that, we're in recess with PCT. Thank you, PCT, for being here.